Good morning and welcome to the class. Thank you so much for attending and for connecting. I hope that you will enjoy the class. This is maybe the 7th or 8th week of the free classes, and of course today is Saturday, so some people are free and you maybe are enjoying your weekend and you have time to study a little. So the structure today will be very similar to every class in the morning. It's a good opportunity for me to teach English, and welcome. If today is your first class, welcome to the class. And of course we have some people who have returned, so I hope you enjoy the class, and we'll try to be very clear and try to help very much. Okay, so I hope. Yesterday we had a few problems with the technology yesterday. I think the connection maybe yesterday was a little weak, so fingers crossed, and hopefully everything is a bit better today. We are depending on the Wi-Fi, the laptop, Facebook, Zoom, so we're depending on a lot of things, and the technology is incredible to allow us to teach and to permit us to have the class, so it's really fantastic. But hopefully the quality and the connection is good. On Instagram, this is the account, so there's pictures from Dublin on the left. In the middle it's like quotations and different pictures in relation to vocabulary, and on the right we have clips and information for the classes every day. So there's 3 posts every day on Instagram, and the name is inglés, and you are welcome to connect and welcome to join there. It will be very good, and hopefully that's my plan, to continue with Instagram. Twitter, it's possible also to connect with Twitter. The content is more or less the same as Facebook, and YouTube as well. So the channel for YouTube is inglés, English classes, and the classes are uploaded every day to YouTube, and some people prefer accessing YouTube, so that's an option if you want. At the moment I am using Zoom, so of course Facebook Live is the class, but I am also using Zoom. You can see at the top the Zoom meeting. So you are welcome to join, and you are welcome to participate in the meeting with Zoom. The code is the meeting ID here, and the passcode if you want to connect. Every morning I put the direct link for the meeting in the class. So for example, normally this is the page for the event, and you can see here in the discussion I put the link. So in the event page on Facebook I put the direct link here every morning. So if you want to connect with the Zoom, you go to the event section and you go to the event and you go to discussion, and you will find the direct link for the Zoom meeting if you want to participate directly with Zoom. Some people prefer the class on Zoom, and some people prefer the class on Facebook Live. Also, we have a lot of people who watch the video recorded. So yes, we have some people live at the moment, but yes, we also have a lot of people who watch the video later, and that's fantastic ability, and thank you so much for connecting in that way. And I hope you all enjoy the class. So the structure for today will be very similar. So first it's an introduction document, and this document is a grammar document. It's an explanation for all the concepts and all the terminology that is technical in relation to English, and this is very important at the beginning of the class, because during the class I mention a lot the vocabulary and the technical terms, so it's very important at the beginning to be familiar with the terms. After the introduction document we continue with an article, and it's possible an article, but probably today we will focus specifically on phrasal verbs and idioms. So after the introduction my plan is to focus on a list of idioms and a list of phrasal verbs. Okay, and depending on time, depending on circumstances, it's possible to participate with speaking if you want to connect. Again, it's the same code with Zoom if you want to practice some speaking, if you have a question, and if you want to say hello, that's possible as well. On Facebook you can leave a comment, so it's possible in the Facebook chat you can leave a comment and say hello, because we have people from lots of different places. People in Madrid, people in Andalusia, people in South America, Peru, Bolivia, Brazil. We've people in Asia, in Thailand, Vietnam. So it's fantastic that people can connect. And also in Europe, people in England and Romania, Bulgaria, Poland. So lots of different places, France. So it's brilliant that people can connect, and hopefully the class will be useful. Okay, so I will share the screen first, and now I'm going to show you the introduction document. So for me, this document is maybe the most important, and of course everybody is familiar with this document. If you have attended the class before, you're probably very, very familiar with this document, but for me it's maybe the most important. There are 3 sections. The first section is use of English, the second section are different tenses, and the third section is grammar in general. Okay, so for me there's 3 areas that are very important: the grammar, concepts, number 3, number 2, the different tenses that we speak. Do you speak in the present? Do you speak in the past? Do you speak in the future? And the top of the list, for me the most important when you learn English, is use of English. And in use of English we have 3 or 4 categories that I recommend are probably the most important categories when you learn English. So this document is very important, and most days, every day, we look at this document and to explain the vocabulary and to explain the concepts. Okay, so that's the plan for this morning, and we will continue the same. And also here I can write my notes. If I need to write some vocabulary, I will use the notes at the bottom. Okay, so in use of English we have different English around the world. So in Australia the accent is very different. Ireland, United States, United Kingdom, Canada, New Zealand, we have a lot of different accents, and people speak very differently and with different velocities, different vocabulary, different expressions in English. So this is extremely hard for everybody when you learn English. So this is a big part. It's very difficult to prepare. The best advice is to read and to listen to a lot of different sources. So listen to different radio stations, different movies, try to speak to different people from different parts of the world, and this is the best preparation and the best way to adapt and to grow in that area. Okay. Also for me, of course, if it's difficult to understand me, I hope you can use subtitles. On Facebook Live we have subtitles and captions, and they are available if you want. And fingers crossed, we've no problem with connection and computers and Wi-Fi, and also family. It's Saturday, we have 6 people at home, and Saturday is the weekend, so it's possible we have a little distraction. And the dog, of course, I have the dog in the garden, so there's a possibility we have little distractions, but hopefully everything will be okay. The second part of the use of English is phrasal verbs. So phrasal verbs are extremely important and very, very big part of English. They're very unique to English. I think only they are part of English. In other languages they do not have phrasal verbs, and basically the concept of the phrasal verb is the verb plus the preposition. Okay, and it's possible literal significance, but there is a second completely different significance with the phrasal verbs, and this is the problem because it changes the significance of the sentence completely. And we have thousands and thousands and thousands of phrasal verbs, and in the class I have a document and I try to teach and try to show lists of phrasal verbs every day, and also in articles I try to identify the phrasal verbs because we use phrasal verbs all the time. Social situations, formal situations, every moment with family, with friends, they're so important. They're very small, but they are fundamental to understand the expression. Okay, similarly with idioms, we use idioms all the time, again in social situations, in formal situations. They are expressions. In Espanol it's frases hechas, and they're a big part of English. And again, during the class I try to identify and try to help, and we have a list. You can see here in the PDF there is 3 lists: idioms, phrasal verbs and prepositions, and I try every day to show some idioms and to help little by little. Okay. Finally, in this section of use of English, conversation is a big part for you to improve English. So when you learn English, speaking is a massive part to progress and to learn. So it's necessary, if you can, continue speaking with somebody to help you learn English. So speaking practice is very important, and conversation is a big part to practice in your routine. And online, of course, today online there are so many possibilities to connect with people, to practice speaking, like an intercambio, inter-exchange. And of course you have a lot of English teachers available online, a lot of brilliant teachers with excellent free classes in different parts of the world. So you have a lot of good resources and good options, brilliant options online today to learn English. So it's really, really good, and conversation is one part of that. Pronunciation also is a huge part of English, and we have some irregular pronunciation problems in English. It's not phonetic all the time. Sometimes English is not the way you see it. You don't pronounce it the way you see it. So we have irregular pronunciation in English, and again, during the week, during the classes, I try to focus on this and try to help, and that's a big part as well of English. The second section are tenses. So when you speak in English, you have to be conscious and to be aware of the time that you speak. Do you speak in the present? Do you speak in the future? Do you speak in the past? And now I want to explain some of the most important concepts, because we have the idea of the simple, present simple, past simple, future simple. So this is one action you do in the present. I eat, I drink, I go, normally regularly. So this is the present simple. The past simple is one action that's completed and finished in the past. But the problem with the past simple is we have a lot of irregular verbs. So in English there's a huge list of irregular verbs, and this is difficult. You need to learn the irregular verbs, and that's a big part and a big difficulty when you're learning English, because regular is normally ed. For example, look, looked. Okay, that's regular ed in the past simple, but we have a lot of irregular verbs. The future simple is generally created with will. I will go, I will eat, I will drink. It's one moment that will happen in the future. There's a second possibility for the future, going to. I am going to eat, I am going to drink, you are going to go. So there's two possibilities for the future simple, and that's present simple, past simple. The next idea is the continuous. So we have the present continuous, past continuous, future continuous. The structure is the subject, I, you, he, she, we, subject, extra verb to be, and the gerund of the verb. The gerund is basically the ing. So I am eating, I am drinking, I am going. It's the present continuous. Future continuous, I will be eating, I will be drinking, I will be going. And past continuous, I was eating, I was drinking, I was going. So that concept is very, very common. It's in every part of English, the continuous and the simple. And the next idea is the perfect. We have the present perfect and the past perfect. So the present perfect is the period or the action in the past. It's completed, but it is related and relevant to now. So it's finished, it's completed, but the consequences are probably related and relevant to the present. The structure is the subject, the extra verb have, and the participle of the verb. So the participle is the third column. In school, you learn the three columns: go, went, gone. So the third column is the participle, and this is used in the perfect. Okay, so I have eaten my breakfast is the present perfect. It's finished, but it is related and relevant to now, because at the moment I am not hungry. So this is the significance of the present perfect. In the United States, it's not so typical. Apparently, in the United States, the use of the present perfect is not typical. It's more the past simple. So it's just curious and important in English to be aware. Also, the past perfect is the period of time in the past. Usually the action is completed, it's finished, and it's usually before another action in the past simple. And the structure is subject, extra verb have in the past, and the participle I had eaten my breakfast before my friend contacted me. So usually for two situations, two actions in the past, we have the past perfect, usually before the past simple, and then the present perfect, which is the period in the past finished, but it is related to the present. That's the little explanation of the perfect. And the other possibility is the future perfect. I will have eaten my breakfast before my friend will contact me. So again, connected to two activities, two actions in the future. They are the most important common verbs. You have the tenses, you have the simple, the continuous, and the perfect. The next idea is the infinitive. So the infinitive is the base of the verb, the foundation of the verb, and usually it's to go, to eat, to drink. This is the infinitive, and I mention a lot the infinitive during the class. So you need to be familiar that the concept of the infinitive is the base, and usually it's to go, to eat, to drink. That's important. Conditionals. So of course, when you study conditionals in the book, the theory is very, very heavy for the conditionals, and unfortunately the book is a little depressing when you study. It's a big area, it's a bit tricky, and it's not easy for native speakers. I believe the majority of native speakers have no idea of the rules. It's just natural. That's my belief. But in the book I think it's a bit difficult when you study. But in reality, I think it's less strict and it's more flexible in reality. Basically, it's connected to if and a different time. Okay, so if it rains today, I will not go to the city centre. If I went to the shop yesterday, I would have bought some clothes. So it's connected to the time and the condition with if. A bit difficult, but some of you are familiar with the conditionals, but other people are not familiar with the conditionals. So it's a big area, and when you study the conditionals, it's a bit heavy, but try to enjoy if possible. And every Monday I have a specific webinar on Monday in relation to grammar at 4 o'clock on Monday, so that's a possibility. The final concept and the final important idea in relation to tenses is the active and the passive. So the active is basically the normal structure in English: subject, verb, object. This is typically the active, and then to create the passive, you change the position of the object and the subject, and you introduce extra verb to be plus the participle of the original verb. Okay, so one example is the water. I, subject, I drink the water. So that's the active. I drink the water. To change the position to make the passive, the water is drunk by me. So it's a frequent structure. It's a little advanced. It's very impressive. And I think in other languages it's the same. You have the active and the passive. But it is very, very impressive and very frequent in English. Okay. Finally, in the grammar section, we have other fundamental concepts and very important terminology. So here we have the terms a noun, an adjective, an article, a preposition, a modal verb, an adverb, and you need to be very, very sure with the significance of these terms, because during the class I mention a lot adjective, pronoun, modal verb, preposition. So for this reason it's so necessary that you fundamentally understand the concepts of the grammar terms. Okay, so the first one is the noun, which is the substantivo in Espanol. It's a person, a place, or a thing, and every noun you need an article, and there's two possible articles in English: a or the. Okay, the pronunciation is possible a or a, and that's indefinite article, and then the definite article is the house or a house. We have one rule: when the noun begins with a vowel, and the vowels are a, e, I, o, u. So when the noun generally begins with a vowel, we use an, a, an. For example, apple, an apple; orange, an orange. So it's necessary to use a, n in this case. So this is the noun. The article: every noun is possible to describe. So the function of the adjective is to describe the noun. Okay, and the position of the adjective is before the noun. So the house, the small house, the big house. So the adjective's function is to describe the noun, and it's very, very important. We have the idea of the comparative and the superlative with the adjectives. So when you have an adjective, this water is very good, but this water is better than this water, and this water is the best. Okay, so that's the idea of the comparative and the superlative related to the adjective. The verb, to drink, to eat, to go, the function of the adverb is to describe the verb. So drink, eat, go. Adverb normally ends in ly. Quickly, slowly, happily, rapidly. Okay, so the adverb normally ends in ly. In Espanol it's mente, suavemente, lentamente, rapidamente. So mente in Espanol is ly in English, and the function is to describe the verb. So drink quickly, talk slowly, run quickly again. And we have a lot of adverbs, and they're very common and very important. That's the basic terms in English, and they're very important. The next ideas here you can see is the modal verb. So modal verbs are very, very important in English, and they're a big category. Okay, so you can see the list here of modal verbs: can, could, may, might, shall, should, ought to, or must, or have to. Okay, they are the most common modal verbs. Basically, can is related to ability and permission. I can play the guitar. I can run a marathon. It's my ability. And also for permission, I can enter the room. I can enter the city. Permission and ability. Could, may and might are possibilities and options, and they're practically the same. May and might are maybe a little more formal. I could go to the city centre. It's an option. I may contact my friend. It's a possibility. It's an option. I might go to the cinema. Options, options, options. Okay, so the sense is very important. Shall is typical. The question will. Shall we contact your friend? Shall we watch the football? It's a question will. It's a little formal and it's a little older, but it's very, very common. Okay. Should, in the situation for advice and recommendation, we use should. So my advice for you: you should go to the cinema, you should watch the movie, you should read the book. Advice and recommendation. And ought to is the same significance, but the pronunciation is difficult. The G is silent, so the pronunciation is ought to, but the significance is exactly the same as should. So it's for advice and recommendation. You ought to go to the shop. You ought to contact your friend. Has the same significance. You should contact your friend. Must is obligation, and you have no choice. It's an obligation. You must collect the children. You must contact your friend. You must eat this food. It's obligation. And the pronunciation for me with the U is possibly very strong in Ireland and in Dublin. So the U possibly is very strong. For example, Dublin, butter, bus. That's a little exaggerated, but it is possible. Dublin, but phonetically it probably is Dublin, butter, bus. So the U is very strong for me, and possibly in Ireland as well. So that's just interesting phonetics. And the big rule: after the modal verb, the next verb, it's necessary to eliminate two. That's the massive important rule. So you have the modal verb, the next verb, for example, can, go, might have, could, watch. So the next verb, it's necessary to eliminate two from the base, from the infinitive. Okay, so that's so important. The error normally is must to go, could to watch. That's the error, that's the mistake, because the rule, it's necessary to eliminate two after the modal. That's big, very, very important. Prepositions. Okay, so prepositions are a massive part of English, and basically they are very, very small words, the preposition, and they can change the significance, they can change the meaning completely of the sentence. The prepositions, we have maybe 150 prepositions, and they are basically related to movement, direction, and position. So speak. At the moment I speak, but I need direction for my speak. I speak to you. So to is the preposition for direction. Travel in general. I travel, but I need direction. I travel to the city. So they're so important. And also movement. I look across the river. So important, because imagine movement in language. We use movement to explain situations all the time. And finally, in relation to prepositions, they are a fundamental part of phrasal verbs. So remember, the phrasal verb concept is the verb plus the preposition, and it's possible literal, but it's possibly a completely different significance as well. And usually the preposition in the phrasal verb is associated with emotion. Up is happy, up is creation, up is positive, down is negative, destruction and sad. So there's definitely an association with emotion and the prepositions. The next area is commonly confused as well. So basically we have the possessive adjective, possessive pronoun and object pronoun. Okay, so the difference between my water, this is my water, this is your water, his water, her water. So it's possessive adjective, but the water is mine, the water is yours, the water is his, the water is hers. So that area is frequently mistaken, and it's a very, very important area for you to be very clear. Okay, and then the third possibility is the object pronoun. Give the water to me, give the water to you, give the water to him, give the water to her. So particularly with the masculine and the feminine, that's the most common area. For example, his water, her water, the water is his, the water is hers, give the water to him, give the water to her. That's the biggest confusion. So that's important, okay? You can see the demonstratives. So the difference between this, that, these and those is very important. It's basically related to singular and plural. This bottle here, and the position, this bottle, that bottle in a different position. These bottles plural, and those bottles plural in a different position. So that's simple, but you would be surprised with the quantity, with the amount of times people make the mistake and the confusion with that, okay? And finally, we have the idea of another, other, the other, and the others. And similarly, this is commonly confused. Basically, another is for the singular noun. Another day, another week, another year, another person. And other is generally for the plural noun. Other weeks, other days, other years. And it's incredible, but a lot of people confuse the two. So that's the reason I put this on the list, because it's an obvious confusion and it's important. Okay, and then the other is typically when you have a choice, when you have a selection of two things. Do you want this coffee or you do want the other coffee? Okay, and that's very common and very important when you have a selection or a choice. And finally, the others is the group of people. So when you talk about a group of people, do you want to travel to the city with us? Do you want to travel to the city with them? Or do you want to travel to the city with the others? So it's a group of people. And that is sufficient for today. That's a very good introduction document. It's the most important document in my opinion. So when you learn English, you must be clear with the categories. You must be clear with the concepts, and that is definitely the secret to improve and to refresh, and it's the secret for everything. So this document is important, and you can see a few more little terms, and in my opinion the most important is the suffixes and the prefixes. So basically the suffix is the little ending of the word. For example, suffix ance, ize, able, ly. Then we have prefixes, which is the little letters we put at the beginning of the word. And this is a big area to help you identify the form of the word. Is the word verb, adjective, noun, adverb? The suffix is a big indicator for this. You can see here, ance is normally noun, the importance, the romance. So that represents the family of nouns. IZE represents the family of verbs, to realize, to fantasize, to monetize. So that's important for sure. ABLE is typical adjective. Manageable, reachable, adjectives, adjectives. LY is typically adverb, and quickly, slowly, happily. So that area of prefixes and suffixes for sure, I think is a big help, and it's so important that you are precise and accurate with the difference between the noun and the adjectives in general, etc. Okay, so writing is completely different as well. So listening is very important, speaking is very important, grammar is very important, reading is very important, and listening and writing is very important. So they're very different abilities, they're very different talents and very different skills. So this is the reason writing is important for you to maintain and to continue and to try to practice regularly your writing, and hopefully somebody can correct your writing. It's possible for me. I can correct some of your writing if you want, and I can give the corrections in the class. Excuse me. And finally, exams. So exams are very popular. They're very important for a lot of people, and in English, exams that are very typical are the Cambridge exams and the IELTS exams. They're extremely typical. So the Cambridge exam, you have the first certificate, the advanced certificate, the proficiency certificate, and the IELTS is one exam, but maximum is level 9, 8, 7, 6, etc. And during the week I have specific webinars in relation to different topics and exams. So for example, today, when we finish today, at 1 o'clock, there is a specific webinar. So I am giving a specific webinar today at 1 o'clock in relation to the first certificate, the B2 first certificate exams, and that will be on Zoom, and we will do exercises. We will look at the material from the B2 exam. It's possible Cambridge and also Escuela Oficial de Idiomas in Spain. So these exams we will focus on, and it's very good for vocabulary and expressions and grammar. So in general, it's a good way to learn English, and it's an extra class today at 1 p.m. So when we finish this class, we will continue with a webinar. There's a small price of €2.90, so it's very cheap, really good. And if you want to register, just contact me and you can confirm your place. So that is today, and that is a big part of English for exams. Okay, now I want to look at idioms. Okay, so remember phrasal verbs. The concept is the verb. You can see here, verb. The concept is the verb plus the preposition, and it's possible literal, it's possible direct, exact, literal significance, but it's possible completely different significance, and that's the difficulty of the phrasal verb. This document is a PDF, and there are 20 pages in this document. It's a typical document. There are many documents available online. This is just one document with a very good list, and every day we do a little of the phrasal verbs, and we continue little by little to explain the phrasal verbs. They're extremely important. Again, so common in conversation, in writing, everywhere, and sometimes they change the significance of the sentence completely and you are lost. So if you understand them, it's perfect. If you do not understand them, you have a lot of difficulty to understand the sentence. So remember, on Zoom, you can connect with the meeting if you want to watch on Zoom or if you want to participate. I just want to put a comment in the chat to keep the meeting active, because sometimes the chat or the meeting disconnects. So I'll just say active, and hopefully that will stop the closure of the class. Okay, so here is the document, and now I'm going to have my class notes here to make some notes. And the first expression is to let up. So last week, or the last class, we stopped at this expression, to let up, and the significance is to weaken in intensity. So the adjective is weak, which in Espanol is débil, so strong. Everybody, I think, understands strong. The opposite is weak, and the suffix here is the en, and this represents a verb. Okay, so when you have the suffix en, this is a typical suffix for a verb. For example, weaken is to make something weak. Strengthen is to make something strong. Lengthen is to make something long. So we have a lot of verbs with en. Okay, so I'm going to give you a few examples. To weaken, to strengthen, to lengthen. Okay, so a lot of vocabulary that's very, very important. To widen, so wide is like amplio in Espanol, and widen is the verb to make something wider, and that's very, very important vocabulary. So to let up is a common phrasal verb, a little advanced, a little difficult, and here's the example. I told her no 1,000 times, but she won't let up. Has the significance she won't stop. So she continues, she continues, she continues. It's typical with the rain in Ireland. It's very common for heavy rain, rain, and it's possible to say there is no let up in the rain, and the significance is it's not stopping, it's persisting, persisting, persisting. And also you need to be clear the difference between tell and say. Okay, so here we have tell and to say, and I don't know why we changed the text, but it is very important to say and to tell. And there's a big secret here, because the common error is the preposition. Okay, so say we normally use to. I say to you, I say to my friend, I say to my manager. Okay, say is typical with to, and tell normally we eliminate to. That's the big, massive difference. So I tell my friend, I tell you, I tell my manager. So the error is tell to my manager. That's the error, because with tell normally we eliminate, we remove to, and that's really, really important. Okay, so say is typical with to. Say to you, say to me, say to him, and tell we eliminate. And here it's the past, it's irregular. Tell, told, an irregular verb, so tricky and difficult. Okay, so that verb is a little advanced, that phrasal verb. To lie is the next verb. You can see we have 3 phrasal verbs with lie. First, we have 2 significances with the verb to lie. The first verb to lie is when you do not tell the truth, so you are dishonest. You are not telling the truth, so you lie. Okay, that's the first significance. The second significance is completely different. The spelling is exactly the same, but the difference is completely different, and it's related to bed. So you are tired and you lie down. Okay, so it's position, bed. The dog at the moment is lying in the garden, like in tumbarse in Espanol. But it's more frequent and it's more flexible in English for position. So Trinity College, the college in Dublin, lies at the end of the street. So it's possible to say lie to describe position. Okay, and it's also possible with the problem. So where is the problem? The problem is here, the problem is there, the problem lies here. So it's flexible for position and location. So for this reason, it's very common and a very important verb. Okay, so here it's very literal and very clear. Lie down, because you're standing, because normally you stand, and to lie down, it's logical and it's no problem. Okay, and here's the example. I need to lie down before we go out tonight. Remember, the big point here, after need, it's typical to. So this is the big point. You've 2 possibilities. I need, with the noun, I need chocolate, I need water, I need energy. Okay, so with the noun, no problem. But if you have another verb, we need to say to. I need to go, I need to have, I need to look. So just be a little careful, because it's a frequent confusion from listening to a lot of people. Okay, so it's literal, no problem. Lie down, on is exactly the same, and only we use on if it's the noun, because on is for a surface preposition, on the table, on the body, on the head, on the wall. So on is typical for surface, and when you lie down on the bed, because the bed is a surface, lie down on the floor. And here's an example: lie down on a couch, and couch has the same significance of sofa, but remember the difference between couch and coach. So extremely different, and a couch is a sofa, but a coach is a trainer. Okay, football trainer, football coach. So it's like a trainer, a coach, and also a coach is possible to mean a bus, an autobus. So you're traveling from Dublin to Galway by coach, has the significance by bus, because I think old-fashioned coach is similar concept, and the coach old-fashioned is the, think of the Queen, typical the King and the Queen travel in the chariot or in the coach. So I think originally this is the concept of a coach. So just important difference between couch and coach, but lie down on is literal, and there's no problem here with the example. I think it's very clear. I'm going to, remember, this is the second possibility for the future. You've two possibilities: I will lie or I am going to lie, and here it's exactly the same. I'm going to lie down on the sofa for a while. So a while has the significance a small period. So I will meet my friend in a while. I will meet my friend for a while, a little time. But in relation to while, we have an expression worthwhile, and it's an adjective, and it's a very, very common expression. So your holiday was worthwhile. Your holiday was worthwhile. Your meeting was worthwhile. The significance is beneficial. Okay, so you can see originally worth is like valor in Espanol, but if something is worthwhile, it benefits you. So very, very good vocabulary, and very common vocabulary, and very important little word. Okay, the next one changes a little bit different. So here's a good example of the difficulty of the phrasal verb. So 1 and 2 are probably literal and there's no real problem, but the third example changes a bit. Okay, so the third example is a little more creative. You need to have an open mind and an open attitude to interpret and to understand. So here's the example, and you can try to understand the example. So whether or not, so remember whether is related to if. Okay, so whether is a bit more formal and a bit more polite, but it's practically the same as if, and it's very, very typical combined with or. Okay, so we really normally say whether or not. That's really, really common combination, and it means basically if or not. I don't know whether or not I will go to the city. So I don't know if I will go or if I will not go. Okay, and here whether or not you can go, it's ability or permission. Remember, modal can is for ability or permission, and here it's related to permission. And remember the rule: after the modal verb we have the next verb, but it's necessary to remove and to eliminate two. So this is the reason we have two verbs together. Because it's a modal, we eliminate two from the next verb. So whether or not you can go to the party lies with your father. Okay, so that's very, very curious. It's different from the previous significance in a sense, but at the same time it has the same concept. So basically it's related to decision and responsibility. So the decision lies with me. It's the position of the decision. Remember the problem lies here, the problem lies there, like position, location. So the decision, the location to make the decision is with the person. Very, very good English, very good example of the difficulty to interpret the phrasal verbs. Very fluent, and we native speakers use this vocabulary very naturally and very, very often, and that's a very good example. So it's a bit difficult but very important. Okay, so that's the verb to lie. The next verb is to light. Okay, and I'm just going to move down to the next two. We've two verbs here, we've two with light. So obviously light is the noun, la luz in Espanol. The light is the noun, and it's also a verb. Okay, and it's very typical with in a few situations, like to give, like dar luz, to light the room, but it's very typical with the preposition up. So it's flexible, lots of contexts, and if a person enters the room and they light up the room, the significance is they illuminate. And here's the example: to illuminate. Okay, but it's more personality. So for example, the person enters the room, they're very happy, they're very full of energy, they're smiling, and everybody notices, so the person lights up the room. Just a little metaphor, I suppose, but the example is to light something up. So here's the example. Let's get is like obtain, and let's is a bit difficult, I suppose. It's like permit us, allow us, let's go. Let's get is to obtain some candles to light this room up. So it is necessary, the preposition up. So to light up is to illuminate, and the question is it possible to say to light the room? Yes, it is possible to say to light the room, and it's understandable, it's clear, but light up is more common, and it just has the emphasis, I suppose, for every part of the room. So again, up is all, okay? And again, it's interesting, but it's simple vocabulary, simple words, but it can confuse you a lot, okay? And the next one is typical for cigarettes. So to light up my cigarette, if I have a cigar and I need somebody to light my cigar or light up my cigar or cigarette, no problem. And here's the example. Okay, so do you have, here's obligation, like must. Have to, remember, is like obligation, must. So do you have to light up? Another, remember, another is for singular noun, another day, another person, another year. So cigarette is singular. I thought is the past irregular, the verb to think, thought. You were trying is the past continuous. Remember the verb to be, auxiliary, plus the gerund, and the gerund is the ing. I am trying, I will be trying, I was trying, but you were trying. And another phrasal verb, to cut down, is to reduce the number. So to cut down cigarettes, to cut down on chocolate, to cut down on sugar is to reduce, and that's a phrasal verb. It's literal in relation to the tree. You cut down the tree, but the second significance is metaphorically, I suppose, but it's typical to reduce. Cut down on alcohol, cut down on cigarettes, cut down on chocolate. Very good example, very good sentence. So no problem to light up your cigarette, I suppose. The next ones are a little more difficult. Okay, so I knew that was going to happen. I need to yeah, perfect. Okay, so the verb to live. We have a lot of phrasal verbs with the verb to live. So first you need to remember the verb is to live. The noun is life, okay, and the adjective is live or lively or alive. So we have three possible adjectives. One is live in relation to music. The pronunciation is important, so completely different. The verb here is to live. Pronunciation, I live in Dublin, you live in Brazil, you live in Vietnam, and the pronunciation is important, to live. But the noun is my life, your life, his life, our life, singular. And in this pronunciation for the adjective in relation to music, live. So live music, live football. Another adjective is lively in relation to the city. The city is very lively, a lot of energy, a lot of movement. The restaurant is very lively, everybody's very happy. The party is very lively, a lot of energy, a lot of movement. And alive is just maybe more medically. So you are alive, it means you're functioning, you're working. The opposite is dead. Okay, so alive and dead is a typical adjective. So here we have prepositions, and they change the significance completely. So this is an important area for phrasal verbs, and one example is to live something down. Okay, so I will try to explain. To live something down, when you do some action in your life and everybody focuses on this moment because maybe it's controversial, or you do something silly, or you make a mistake and you are embarrassed. Okay, so this moment you are embarrassed, and for example the party or the official formal party, you go to the formal party and you wear the incorrect clothes and it's very obvious it's a big mistake, people will always remember this moment, and they will always remind you, they will always tell you about this moment, so you will never live this moment down. So the significance is almost to forget, because if it's up, everybody can see, but if it's down, you cannot see. Okay, so extremely common, extremely fluent, very good example, very easy for native speakers, but very, very difficult for you to interpret. And here's the example, perfect example. Jose will never, so future, the verb future will live down, and it's the negative, so Jose will never live down singing that song. Okay, remember the verb is to sing, and the past is sang, so sing is the verb, sang is the past, sung is the participle, sang, oh my god, sang is the past, and sung is the participle, but the noun is a song. Okay, and also the person is a singer. So important vocabulary, because some people confuse. So the song is the noun, but the verb is to sing. Sang is the past, so important. Sing, sang, sung, and a song, it sounds like a different language. So the example is Jose will never live down singing that song at location, specific location, at or in, no problem, because this case it's the bar, karaoke. So this is a perfect example, because everybody sings karaoke sometimes, and sometimes it's very embarrassing and it's very silly and it's very ridiculous, and people maybe never forget because it's so bad, and that's the perfect example. So you will never live down that moment. Difficult but extremely fluent, extremely easy for native speakers, and extremely common. Okay, so it's a difficult explanation. I hope you understand it. The next one's a bit more easy, a bit easier. It's a bit more logical and literal. So to live on, okay, so related to food. So chocolate, I love chocolate. I survive because I eat chocolate. So I live on chocolate. In the morning I have chocolate, afternoon I have chocolate. I live on bread because every day I live on, because you basically, it's the foundation. Okay, you live on bread. And here's the example, I live on bread, I live on cheese, I could live on bread. Remember, modal, it's a possibility or it's an option, so here it's a possibility. So it is possible I could live, pronunciation, different from the adjective live, I could live on bread and cheese. Typical with money, so you live on bread and cheese, but you live on €200 per week. You live on €20 per week. So it's to survive. It's common. Hopefully it's literal and it's easy. Not too difficult. But the next one is a little difficult again, and a little more trickier, a little second different significance. So live up to is typical for expectation. So the student in school is very good, a lot of potential, is an amazing, a brilliant student, and the expectation for the student after school is very, very high. So people expect the student to have a fantastic job, brilliant career, to help a lot of people. So this is the expectation, but at the moment he is in school. So this boy or this girl has the obligation to live up to this. So up to, it's literal. So to live up to that moment. So for example, your mother or your father is very, very talented, or your mother or father has a brilliant career or a brilliant situation, and you have to live up to that standard or that level. Okay, again, extremely common and extremely typical. And here is the example. It would be, in general, so hypothetical, conditional, it would be difficult in theory to live up to her parents' expectations. Okay, they are so demanding. So demanding is very good adjective. To demand is the verb, and it's like an order. It's strict and it's strong. You demand, it means you want, but the adjective is demanding, and it's a very good adjective for parents. Very, very typical, because the parent wants good school, good everything. Demanding, demanding, demanding. And in other languages, demanding, you can see here, I'll get the translation. Demanding is, so hopefully we just get the connection here. I think we have a little problem with the Wi-Fi maybe, but the adjective for demanding in other languages, I want to get it to English. Okay, let me see. No, I think we have a problem there with that, because I want to find the translation for demanding. If I press enter, no, I think it's a little slow. But basically, it's typical for parents or your manager or somebody is very demanding, and they require a lot from you. They ask a lot from you, so very demanding. Oh, I've lost my phrasal verb list. Let me get back. So, yeah, very demanding person, very demanding manager. They require or they ask a lot for you. So it's a good example. It is extremely typical and it is common. And I think that's probably sufficient for the for the phrasal verbs for today, because we continue with the document, and you can see at the top we have the next page, which is, I don't know if it's live. So the next verb is to look. Look after, look back on, look down on, look for, look forward to, look into. So maybe we will continue in the next classes with the phrasal verbs in relation to look, and they are very, very interesting. The next part I want to show you are idioms. So remember the explanation in the introduction. We have accents, different English, we have phrasal verbs, and we have idioms. So this document is related to idioms. And last week we stopped with the expression once upon a time. And once upon a time is a bit formal. It's very specific for books. So at the start of the story you say once upon a time, which has the significance one day. Okay, and it's a little formal. But the next expression is only time will tell, and this is very typical as well. So it's literal, I think it's logical, and I don't think it's a problem. So here's the vocabulary for demanding, I think. So I'll just double check again. No, it's still slow. So only time will tell is a typical expression, and when you do not know the future and you have to wait and you cannot predict, it's impossible to predict. So the expression is only time will tell, because I cannot tell, so it's similar to predict. I cannot predict the future, I cannot tell the future, you cannot tell the future, only time can tell the future. So it's a very, very common expression. So for example, the football, tomorrow is a very big match and I hope my team win. I think they will win, but I'm not sure, only time will tell. Okay, the next one is very, very famous, and you probably understand it already. It's extremely well known. It's very, very famous. The expression is out of the blue. The blue is the metaphor for the sky. So if something comes out of the sky, you do not expect it, you do not anticipate it, you do not predict it. So you receive an offer out of the blue. You receive a new job offer out of the blue, and it means you did not see it, you did not anticipate it, it just arrived. Very famous, quite literal, but I hope you understand it. It's like suddenly, de repente in Espanol. And the next one is out of the red, which is more related to business. Red is usually danger, usually a problem. Red is dangerous, it's a warning. So if you're out of the red, you're away from the danger, you're away from the problem. And here is the definition, because I think it's related to business. Yes, it's related to debt. So here the pronunciation is difficult because the B is silent. So we say in debt, and it's related to money. So when you owe, okay, so the verb is to owe, como deber, to owe money, you are in debt. Okay, and again the pronunciation, the B is silent. So if you're out of the red, the significance financially, you are now okay, you have no problem, you're out of the danger in relation to money. Okay, out of time is very, very famous. So you have the limit for time in an exam. You have 20 minutes, you have 1 hour in an exam. and you're almost finished the time, but you need more time, but you have no more, so you are out of the limit. You're out of time, out of money, out of energy. So it's logical, but it's frequent. We have another expression, out of service. Okay, so out of service is typical when something, a machine, is not functioning and it's not possible to use the machine. You cannot service the machine, it's not possible. So it's out of service, it's not functioning, it's not working. Okay, it's broken, and that's important as well. The next expression is typical, to paint the town red. So this is very, very common with friends, with family, with parties. To paint is obviously this action in the building, in the room, you paint the room, but the expression to paint the town red is the significance, a metaphor to party. So Monday to Friday, you're working. Monday, Tuesday, you're working. Friday night, you want to party, you want to go to a restaurant, you want to go everywhere and have a brilliant night. This is an expression, it's emphasis for really brilliant night, to paint the town red. Okay, to really have an amazing night. And here's the explanation, to go out, yeah, really, so it's emphasis. To go out, salir in Espanol, and have a really good time at a party. Okay? In relation to exams, the typical verb in relation to an exam is to pass the exam, and the negative is to fail an exam. So this is the vocabulary, to fail an exam, to pass an exam. Okay, and I'll put the vocabulary here. To fail an exam and to pass an exam. And the expression we have in English is with flying colours, and I think maybe it's related to the military. So the military have the aeroplane, and for example on Bastille Day in France they have the celebration. In America, the 4th of July, they have the aeroplane, the military aeroplane, and the smoke or the colour from the aeroplane, maybe this is the origin, but the expression is to pass the exam with flying colours. So it's emphasis for, yes, you passed the exam, but very comfortably, absolutely no problem. So you pass the exam very easily. With flying colours means very comfortably, very impressive. I think that's the connection. It's very impressive, similar to the military aeroplane with the colour. Okay. The other expression is a penny for your thoughts. So of course at the moment in Ireland we have the euro, and €1, but you have 1 cent. Okay, but in England you have the pound, and in Ireland before we had an Irish pound, and you have 1 penny. Okay, so a penny and a pound, a cent and a euro, but the expression is a penny in exchange for your thought. Okay, so it's typical in conversation when I don't know your opinion, I don't know your feeling, I don't know your thoughts. Okay, pensamientos. I give you a penny and you give me your opinion. It's very famous, and it's used when you do not know somebody's opinion and you want somebody's opinion. It's obviously a little joke. It's not an official exchange of money. It's just a joke. Okay, and it's a way, it's a method of asking for somebody's opinion. The next one is literal. So a picture, like a painting, a picture is the subject. The verb is to paint. So the picture paints, because it's the third person, 1,000 words. So I can try to explain the situation with my words. I can use 1,000 words to try to explain the situation, to try to describe the situation. But the picture or the painting is more powerful. It's a very good example. It's very literal and it's very, very good. Okay. And the next expression is a piece of cake. So a piece of cake has the significance, it's literal. So yesterday we had the birthday in the house and we have the cake, and I ate a piece of cake, but it's a metaphor in relation to your job. So in the party, the cake was very easy. For me to eat, it was very simple, because everybody enjoys cake. It's very easy, it's very simple. So this is a metaphor for your job, your exam, your activity. So your exam is very easy, and it's possible to say the exam was a piece of cake. It was simple. It was easy to do, easy to eat. Extremely common, extremely typical in conversation, and a big part of English. The final example is pitch black. So obviously black is the colour, and it's, for example, the jacket is black, the bottle is black, but pitch black is more, it's blacker, so it's more emphasis again. So it's typical for the room. At the moment I have the light, but if I turn off the light and it's dark, it's black, but it's pitch black, means really dark, really black. Okay, and you can see here very dark. Okay, so that's a good explanation today of introduction at the beginning. We had the introduction for grammar, we had phrasal verbs, and we continued with the idiom. So I'm very happy, because that's very important work in relation to the use of English, and in my opinion this area is a big area for you to really master and to really understand fluent conversation and native speakers. It's a big area, and it's definitely a very important area to really learn very fast. Okay, so I'm very happy with the work today. Remember, we have a webinar today at 1 o'clock, so very soon we have a webinar. So now I need to prepare for my webinar. You are welcome to join. Just send me a message, and it's via Zoom for 1 hour. There's a small fee of €2.90, but it's very good price, and we will focus on the exam of the Cambridge exam, or the Escuela Oficial de Idiomas at level B2. And remember, everything is free. The classes in the morning, I'm very happy to teach for free. It's a good opportunity for me. Yes, it's my work, it's my career. So if you are happy and if you can support me, it will be a great motivation. It will be a great help for me if you can support me with a small donation. So you can see it's possible €1 or €2 for today's class for this morning, if you are happy. And it's possible with Bizum in Spain. The application is to transfer money in Spain, and the phone number is my Irish number here. In Ireland we have Revolut, and in other countries with Revolut. So if you want to help me, and if you want to support me, and to say thank you for the class, you can transfer a small euro or a small fee by Revolut. At the bottom I have my bank details for the IBAN or the BIC, and on the right I have a possibility with PayPal as well. There's a website, paypal.me/supportbrianking, or this code will direct you to PayPal as well. So this is a big help, and if you're happy and you want to say thank you, that will support me a lot. And remember, we have the possibility of social media as well. We have Instagram, we have Twitter, and we have YouTube, and every day I put some content on all the channels. So I hope you can connect there, and you can enjoy some pictures of Dublin and some vocabulary and some information related to the classes. So that's everything. Thank you so much for attending this morning. I hope you enjoyed the class on Saturday morning, and I look forward. I'm hoping to see you on Monday, and also I'm hoping to see you at 1 o'clock for the specific webinar for the first certificate.